is Matt from InvestiQuant. Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021. And yesterday was another big rally in the market. We gave up some of the gains late in the day, and we had quite a few different patterns actually taking place because not everything was in complete agreement with the price action yesterday. But we did have some significant highs that were being made in the markets, 50-day highs. The S&P specifically made a 50-day high, but it didn't quite close up at a 50-day high. So it made that high print, but it did not close at a 50-day high. And I figured we would take a look at that today. This is not going to be applicable for all of the instruments. It is applicable for the S&P futures contract that we're going to be looking at, but we will go ahead and set it up in all the instruments anyways and see what it looks like. So let me go ahead and add all four instruments to this test we're about to run. We're going to be using the intraday open setup as a long, which means it is getting long at the open of regular trading hours, which is 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. The exit's going to be set to 4:15 p.m. Eastern time. For the opening filter, I'm simply going to use gap up. That's going to keep as many samples as possible for this test. And then I'm going to go into the price patterns library, and I'm going to set up this highest high of the past 50 days, but not a 50-day high close. So if I go to the active today, this is going to show us all of the things that are true for today. And if I kind of look down towards the bottom, we've got a new highs section, and this tells us, we had the highest high of all these different look back periods, including the past 50 days being the largest look back period. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that, but you'll notice we don't see 50-day high close here since we did not close at a 50-day high. So since that's not true, it's not going to show up over here, but it is still in our library. So I can just go over to the new highs library, find it. It's this fourth option down, and I'm going to hit this minus sign next to it. That's going to make it a not statement. So that means yesterday was not a 50-day high close. So I'm able to combine these two different patterns together to come up with exactly what I'm trying to examine by doing it this way. Next, I can go into the indicators, and I can just put it above a 200-day simple moving average. I can add the 10 as well. Probably not needed because most of these are going to be above the 10. So, all right, let's hit view results. And here we go. So these are the results of going long at the open, which is 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, exiting at the close, which is 4:15 p.m. Eastern time, when you gap up following a day that made a 50-day high but did not close at a 50-day high. This is taking place above a 10 and 200-day moving average. If we look at our results for these, you'll notice we were able to get a bunch of results here. We've got over 100 in the S&P, 114 here in the NASDAQ, 87 in the Dow, 83 in the Russell. If we look at the win rates on them, S&P coming in 56%, NASDAQ 57%, Dow the strongest of the group, 62% there, and Russell the weakest of the group at 46%. So 3 of the 4 here leaning a little bit to the long side on this pattern, with the Dow leading the way at 62% of those closing above the open when you have that pattern. Now, if we look at average wins, average losses here, it looks like the average loss a little bit bigger than the average win in the S&P. That's not the case for the NASDAQ. NASDAQ, a little bit better win rate and a little bit better average win compared to average loss. For the Dow, they are very similar in size. And then for the Russell, Russell's the weakest here, with the average loss being sizably larger than the average win and the win rate on those being the weakest. So 3 of the 4 lean a little bit towards the long side, and Russell a little bit more weaker than the others. I'm not really sure why it tends to have different characteristics often. I don't know what causes that, but that's not really uncommon to see the Russell a little bit different than the others. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. Good luck today, and we will see you next time.